Hi, Samsung just released the Galaxy Z Fold 7. You know what? It looks actually perfect. I really liked it. But what is that camera bump? That is the most thick camera bump that I have ever seen. That is the bumpiest camera bump out there. You know what? It deserves an award for that. Actually, 2 awards. That is the biggest camera bump out there in the current day phones. And it is also the most unnecessary one. Actually, there is another phone with a bigger camera bump. It is Vivo X200 Ultra, but they are not ashamed of it. They are not trying to hide it. Samsung is actually avoiding talking about this camera bump. I couldn't even find the actual thickness. And the other most phones with the bigger camera bumps and bigger cameras, they have this camera bump in the center of their design. For Samsung, this is just another camera. You know what, I'm getting ahead of myself. You should also give them some applause for being the biggest advancement in a single year, I guess. Half of the phone is just gone. It is so thin now. Look at this picture. This is the Fold 6 and a 7 side by side. How did you guys do that? Probably the same technology and tricks they used in the S25 Edge, which was released 2 months ago. Maybe I went too harsh on that phone, because if this was going to be the result, yes, thank you for making that phone first. But they have cheated a little bit here. I can't find a source about the exact dimensions of this camera bump. Even Samsung is not telling us that. They are proudly, of course, talking about how thin the screen parts. Yes, it is thin, by the way. It is 4.5 millimeters. That is when unfolded, of course. And when folded, you just double that. It is 9 millimeters. But that numbers are without the camera bump. It is easily visible that it is thicker than the other layers. It is almost like it is its own layer, and it is the biggest layer in the phone. Some people online said that they could have made this a trifold, which kinda makes sense if you are going to just include that much thickness there. But there are some leaked dimensions, and we can see that it is at least 5.5 millimeters. S25 Edge by itself without the camera bump was 5.8 millimeters thick. Its camera bump was adding 4.2 millimeters to the phone. So Fold 7 now is actually thinner in its own layer, but thicker in the camera bump. Fold 7 isn't the only phone that is doing this. Also, iPhone 16 lineup was criticized about the camera bumps. It was 4.3 millimeters in the iPhone 16 Pro. It is not that bad in the S25 Ultra. It is only 2.4 millimeters. Google Pixel 9 was also criticized about this camera bump, but it was actually better than these ones because it was in the center and it was symmetrical, so it wasn't wobbling around when you put it on the desk. Overall, all these phones just rely on you getting a phone case, I guess. But you know what? Phone cases are not that thick. Most phone cases are just 1 millimeter thick, so you still have some camera bump. Phone cases either has to compensate for that extra thickness, or they are just going to still leave out some camera height there. You know what? I was looking at my old S10 Plus, and it doesn't have a camera bump, and it is actually thinner than these modern phones. I don't know what happened in the industry in the last 5 years, but everyone is cheating with the camera bumps and everyone is getting away with it. Like, these phones are actually really thick. Just stick it in there. What is the exact reason that you cannot have that much space in there? Like, didn't we talked about this in the headphone jacks? First thing Apple said was, oh, we need more space in there. Where is that space is going? Like, we know that there is some battery in there. Other than that, most components are shrinkable. We know that because companies were actually producing smaller phones, and they were producing thinner phones 5 years ago. And if an S25 Edge is possible right now, and if this Fold is possible right now, as you can see, most components are not that thick. So I am wondering why we are still putting all of these camera components outside of the phone. Just make them line up together. So if you can shrink the phone from some side, I am expecting an S26 Ultra with the camera inside this time. Just shrink it from that part, like under the camera, just shrink that part and put it inside. Just putting the components outside doesn't make it a thinner phone. And in my opinion, advertising any phone with being thinner with the camera components outside would be a false advertisement. Why wouldn't it be? Then let's just make a phone with the all components outside. So I'm just going to purchase a screen then. Give me all the components with another package. Actually make it a backpack so I can just wear it and walk around. You know what? Let me just demonstrate it to you. This is your new phone. How is it? You should really buy it. And by the way, this is the rest of the phone, but that doesn't matter. Look at this phone. Yes, you can probably tell that this annoys me. And I also said this was the most unnecessary camera bump. That is because this is a big phone. I know you made it thinner and congratulations on that. I am actually surprised that you can give the same battery size with the previous version. But just cut out a little bit more maybe. You have the option to put different components to the different places. If there's a component under that camera, I'm going to lose my mind. But if there is nothing under it, this is the whole camera thickness, this has to be at this height, then I think they should just switch their technology, because we have seen some prisms that are just changing the light's direction 90 degrees. So they are installing different camera sensors into the phone. Because you can go horizontal now, you don't have to stay vertical. A different thing that annoys me is that the previous phones were actually thicker than this, and they couldn't find any space in it for an S Pen for 6 generations. You had to purchase it separately in a $2,000 phone, and you had to put it outside outside of the phone in a case. S Pen is the most unique Samsung thing. It is your own brand image. I don't know how they are just leaving it behind. But yes, let's say that was needed. There was not that much space in the phone. Spoiler alert, we now know there was space in the phone. Anyway, they are now completely getting rid of the S Pen support. You know what? I am not using a foldable phone, but I think I should tell you that you are not supposed to do that. This is even worse than what I was just talking about before. Now, that was just my opinion as a consumer. Now this is just you deliberately making things worse. Maybe there was not that many people that was using it, but getting rid of the most iconic thing that you have is not a great move. Anyway, what are your thoughts about this? Am I just talking nonsense? Or are you also seeing there are some weird decisions made here? Do you also think the camera bumps are ridiculous? Tell me your thoughts in the comments down below. If you liked the video, please subscribe and thank you for listening.